Welcome, everyone. Excited to welcome Kade to the pod. Kade, where does this podcast find you today?
Finds me in South Carolina, Columbia. What about you?
You're catching me actually at the Riverside HQ as I'm winding down my day. Excited to have this conversation before we head into the weekend. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited.
Kade, obviously I think got first connected to you on LinkedIn, like many other people, started following your content and really, I think enjoyed how authentic and genuine it is. And also just, I think you're someone on LinkedIn that people want to root for in general. I thought that maybe we could kind of take this to the beginning for a little bit. And I just wanted to start by asking you a little bit about how you grew up, maybe, some of your kind of backstory. And I like asking people, what their family life kind of looked like growing up for you, if we could start there.
Let's do it. So I'm one of 14 siblings and we were all homeschooled. So that might tell you a little bit, about me. So there's a lot of fighting and everybody was together. So there's a lot of talking. It's not like I was alone. That's what people usually think when they hear homeschooling. But yeah, I was homeschooled, one of 14. So it's there was a lot of negotiating, and I think that's probably a big part of how I got into sales is, not manipulation, but like talking with my siblings and trying to figure out different ways how to get them to say yes and get them to ask mom or dad something without me doing it and all that kind of good stuff.
What number are you out of the 14?
I'm the 6th out of 14.
So I feel like that's, kind of right smack in the middle there, basically.
Yeah, just about. There's not a middle, but if there was, I would probably be it.
And are most of your siblings still close to home, or are people kind of spread out throughout the United States?
They're mostly close to home. 2 of them are actually in Hawaii right now just for a visit. They're going to be there for like 2 months, like working on a farm. Most of them are staying in South Carolina, though.
And you were homeschooled, throughout your life, like even going through high school as well?
Yep, all throughout. Never went to public school.
And you, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you graduated, or I should say, when you finished homeschooling and were starting to kind of think about the future, did you have any thoughts of wanting to go to university at that point, or was it always, I'm going to kind of just jump into a role, and see what happens there?
I always wanted to jump into a job since homeschooling gives you a lot of flexibility. Like I started working when I was doing school as well. And then throughout those different jobs, I figured out that I really like sales. So I was like, okay, perfect. I don't have to go to college, which I wasn't a huge fan of. So I was like, let me just do some research on sales, and then happened to get on LinkedIn from some YouTube video that told me to do so. And then just started with connecting with a bunch of people.
Were you, I'm assuming you probably used other forms of social media up until that point.
Mostly just Instagram.
I can imagine once you jumped onto LinkedIn, the difference in the type of content and the way people kind of use the platform.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different, but you curate your feed over time and adjust it. Obviously, not a lot of your friends in high school are on LinkedIn, but I made it work.
And among the rest of your like siblings and family, like were a lot of your other siblings also kind of jumping into a job, a sales job or something kind of right after they finished schooling as well?
Not sales, but mostly other jobs, except for one. One did go to college, but historically it's been haven't gone to college, just start working, which is interesting when you think about it.
You said, you'd done some kind of jobs before and you were kind of getting interested in specifically in the sales role. How did you kind of land, this first role as an SDR and in the, kind of go-to-market space?
A lot of it was luck. I didn't know that like Common Room was a nice startup. So it was just through posting on LinkedIn. Like I mentioned, I was connecting with a lot of people when I was still in school because I knew I wanted to be an SDR from my research on YouTube and talking to different people on LinkedIn. So for like 6 months before June 2025, I was just connecting with people for a long time and like asking them a question. And I met one guy named Trey who was like, hey, I'm doing some fractional SDR work. Like, do you want to help me out and like get some experience? So I did a little bit of cold calling, a little bit of cold emailing. So that was good. Like I knew exactly why I wanted to be an SDR, and I knew I wanted to be an SDR. So then once June came, when I finally graduated high school, I just made a post on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, I just graduated high school. I'm looking to break into sales. Like, this is why. And I was like, DM me some numbers I can call. And then my soon-to-be manager reached out to me and he was like, hey, we're hiring. Let's talk tomorrow. Just happened to be Common Room at like a nice startup. So that was That was pretty nice.
I like what you said about your post. And I think that post was also just super honest, right? Super honest and super authentic. And I actually think on LinkedIn today, sometimes, there's a lot of fluff and a lot of people kind of writing a lot, whereas you could probably cut most of it and kind of get to the point. And within that post, you kind of got to the point right away. And I think that's also why I think people enjoy your content in general, because it's got like a nice sense of humor, but it also kind of gets to the point, which I think is also kind of part of the deal with sales, right? It's kind of like to make a connection, to have some fun with it, but also to be respectful of people's time and get to the point. Do you agree with that in general?
100%. And I think another thing is I led with that. Like that was the first thing I did, which is made a post. A lot of the times when you see these posts on LinkedIn, it's after these people have been looking for roles and then they're like defeated and then they'll make a post. It's like, been applying to a bunch of jobs, like no luck, like LinkedIn sucks, You can probably see one of those a day. So I think leading with that can help if you do that instead.
And so you start at Common Room. Maybe just to give us a little bit of background, could you share just a little bit about what Common Room is? And I guess, maybe describe what you see as your role specifically within Common Room.
The go-to-market space is changing rapidly. So my explanation might change in like 2 months, but we're the platform for go-to-market teams. So like sales, marketing, rev ops, etc. And we're all about right person, right time, right message, which I'm sure you hear a lot being in sales. The way I use it as an SDR is mainly for like workflows and then signals. So we have a Claude MCP server, which has all of our Common Room data in there. So I kind of just use that to help me figure out who to reach out to, what to say, and when. And it's mainly through like signals within my book of business, like who's hiring SDRs, who's using my competitors, who's visiting the website, changing jobs, etc. And if you look at our case studies, like almost all of them are helping teams generate more pipeline. So the basic like pipe gen. So if anybody has that problem, like feel free to look at our website or reach out to me. Always happy to help out.
I guess recently in the news, Common Room was acquired by Zoom. So first of all, congrats. And it's super exciting. How has the energy been on the team since then?
It's been good. It was the one time I took like a full week off. So I saw it all in Slack, but I got back and everybody's pretty excited. And a lot of mixed emotions, a lot of figuring stuff out. So we'll see how things go down the next couple of months, but I'm excited. It's a big opportunity.
I think also, you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've been in the role now for like just about a year.
A year and 8 days. Yeah.
If you could kind of speak to young folks kind of in your seat, let's say like a year ago, who are maybe, they finished school and they're looking for their first role in sales, and they've already been in the industry for a couple of years already, and they're kind of looking to break into the go-to-market space. I'm sure LinkedIn is going to come up in your answer somewhere, maybe. But what kind of general tips would you give to those people that are kind of trying to find the right situation for them?
If they're trying to land a role, I would try to have as many conversations as possible with people already doing the role. And that can be through LinkedIn, like you mentioned, but also maybe they live in a big tech hub. So I would try to meet with people in person, go to the offices, do whatever it takes to have conversations. For me, that would probably be LinkedIn because I live in South Carolina and there's not a it's not a tech hub here. But yeah, I would try to have as many conversations as possible. Try to stand out with your outreach because you're probably going to have to be reaching out to these people to get a conversation. And I would recommend sending videos since everybody else in the world just sends walls of text to people.
Right. And I guess, when you're approaching, reaching out to people to have those conversations, to network, I always found for me that something that works is kind of asking to kind of learn about that person, to kind of learn about their story and to kind of learn about their work. I think in general, people like to talk about themselves and always they're happy with the audience. And that's kind of works for me. When you're kind of approaching those conversations, like how do you kind of, not I guess be too forceful because you're kind of asking for a favor to have a conversation, but also kind of be unique. You mentioned the videos. Like, are there ways in your language that you're kind of asking those people to kind of have those types of conversations to network and to kind of build relationships?
There's a couple different ways that I think would work. Most people don't like receiving AI outreach. So first step, like don't write it with AI, just write it with your own language. Another one is, like you mentioned, like ask to learn. People love talking about themselves, obviously, like I'm doing right now. And then also like maybe give them a problem you have. Like salespeople love helping other salespeople, especially when there's a problem. And then just be very direct. Like since I'm on the receiving end of this right now, like if somebody's beating around the bush and they don't just say exactly why they're reaching out, I don't want to reach back out to them and say, "Oh, what do you want exactly?" I want them to tell me that. So like be extremely direct. Like this is what I want. I'm gonna go get it. I want your help. This is my problem. I think those are a couple different ways that'll get responses.
Right. Like let's do an example. Like if someone reached out to you on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, Cade, big fan of your work. I would love to be an SDR at a company like Common Room. Could we connect enough for you to kind of take the time to speak to that person to maybe because maybe they're inching towards getting a referral from you or something, but like what's going to actually move the needle for you to take time out of your day to actually speak with the person, you think?
mm, I would pull up an example if I had it on hand, but a lot of them are sort of like that, like you mentioned, like, hey, looks like you're killing it at Common Room. I'd love to do the same. Like, can we chat? Which is like it's not terrible, but there's too many of those still. I actually like long messages. So if they make it long and talk about their situation and like how I could help them. A lot of it is through referrals too, though. Like one guy reached out to me and he said, like, hey, I know this 18-year-old as well. He's trying to break into tech sales. Like he mentioned he wants to talk to you. And like he didn't even come to me. He went through his friend that he knew. So that was you can do that also.
Right. So you said, been there, about a year at this point, looking ahead towards the future. And I don't know if you are the type of person that tries to look so far ahead. You kind of seem like the person who's in the moment and trying to excel, one day at a time. But, what are you trying to do? I mean, in your career, looking towards the future in sales, are you trying to, move towards, an AE role in the future? Or are you trying to, maybe you're not sure yet, curious kind of what your mindset is and things like that?
I think next step would be going to AE role, and then I'm kind of like building on the side. I think long term, I'd want to have my own business, and I think it's probably going to be something with LinkedIn. Um, so like I just trying to build on other platforms because you never know what could happen to LinkedIn. So I just came out with a newsletter like 2 days ago. So if people want to go subscribe to that, I think long term I'd want to have my own business because I just like working for myself. But right now I'd want to next step is going to be AE.
All of Common Room working remotely at the moment, like from different locations around the globe.
Yep, fully remote.
So I think in the world today, among young people working, there's kind of this debate, right, of working remotely versus being in the office, people in the middle with like a hybrid setup. Uh, how are you finding working remotely in general? Are there things you think you're missing, or like what are the pros and cons in your eyes?
There's definitely pros and cons. Short answer, like I really love it. Like there's so much freedom. I think since I have so many younger siblings, it's a little easier because like if I go in, like I'm still at my house, so like there's people in my house that I can talk to. If I was like an only child, it would probably be pretty lonely. Um, I do miss or don't miss because I've never done it. But if there was an option to go in office, like that would be pretty awesome. But because like I hang out with my SDRs, my fellow SDR colleagues, and like Nooks and Zoom like all day, just talking to them because like I really like to talk to people, and I feel like being in office would be even more awesome. But I think the money aspect is also really good because you can save a lot more money. You don't have to spend money on gas. So there's a lot of different things, but I really like remote. Like it's really dependent on how motivated you are yourself because you gotta do everything yourself. There's not like a manager there telling you to telling you to get out of bed and all that sort of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad also that I feel like for some people, if they're in the house with a bunch of their younger siblings, after a while, it might drive them a little bit bonkers. But it seems like you have a good balance of making sure to kind of focus and get your work done, but also spend time with the family, which is great.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Within your, you mentioned spending time with your fellow, colleagues like on Nooks and Zoom. Um, in terms of like, finding ways to stand out and working remotely, obviously, performance is kind of the first thing and like doing your job really well, but in different ways of kind of making sure you get noticed and before your managers and other kind of high level people at the organization. Any advice to people working remotely that still want to make sure, their name is being brought up and people are kind of thinking of them, positively?
Kind of like building your own internal brand. I just try to meet with as many people as possible. It's kind of like making a lot of internal champions,
Yeah.
like within your org. So obviously, it's probably easy to do that within the SDR org if you're an SDR. But then also like meeting with AEs, meeting with the AE managers, meeting with your managers, and just trying to get the best impressions as possible. And again, like be very direct with what you want. Like if you want to be an AE, like tell them that, like tell them like what can I be doing right now for if this opportunity opens up, and then like show them that you'll do the work and that you're doing the work. So when that role opens up, it's just obvious that like, oh yeah, we've been talking to Kate about this. Like we don't need to even think about it.
I think that's a really good point. I think that someone once said, like, I mean, people say it all the time, but like closed mouths don't get fed, right? That you have to kind of state what you want. And obviously, you always want to be a team player and you want to help whatever business you're part of succeed in any way. But it's important, I think, to be intentional from the beginning, is kind of what you're saying.
Yes, very intentional. Tell people, again, salespeople love to help other people. So like tell them what you want, tell them why you want it, and they're going to help you. Simple.
I want to pivot a little bit to AI because, of course, we can't record a podcast without talking for a second. We'll probably get fined or something if we don't talk about AI. Kind of quickly, obviously, salespeople all over the world are using AI. I'm sure you're using different softwares, and obviously within Common Room, AI exists too. How are you utilizing AI mostly in your day to day within work right now?
I don't use it that much, which people might come after me for. But I think what requires success in this role doesn't really need a bunch of AI. And I'm talking about like me specifically for an SDR at Common Room. Like my job is kind of just being on LinkedIn, like engaging with my prospects, DMing my prospects. And that doesn't take a lot of AI. Like I can do account research and in Claude with AI, like which is what I do, like account research, writing emails. But in terms of like workflows and all that sort of stuff, not really. But I think that's just because of what it requires here to be successful. I don't need that. Like my buddy Mike is an SDR at Open Router, and like they're mostly fully inbound. So he's like building stuff in Claude all day to help with like workflows and how to make that most efficient. And it's a lot different from what I'm doing, which is booking meetings with prospects on LinkedIn. And that doesn't really require AI. So, I mean, I don't want to automate LinkedIn, which you could do with AI, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to get my account flagged, which I'm sure a lot of people have done. They always ask me about it.
So this would be a good moment to, I guess, give a shout out to Condo and anybody using the platform Condo for LinkedIn DMing. Kate actually was the one who introduced me to it, and it's been a game changer.
So it's like an organization of your inbox, but it's not automation, which is like exactly what I was looking for. Because LinkedIn is, when it comes to tracking connections, it's not the easiest, as I'm sure we all know.
LinkedIn, we could spend an hour doing like a seminar or webinar just on you probably teaching about LinkedIn, like you're one of our professors at university or something. But what do you think makes LinkedIn so unique? Because I think you talk to some people and they're like, it's so saturated with AI content and it's just not authentic. But I mean, I think you're a great example of it. I think good content does find its way in. Me personally, LinkedIn is responsible for a lot of great things in my life so far. One, I've met great friends. I've met great mentors. I got my first internship through LinkedIn. The person who referred me to work at Riverside, that all came about through LinkedIn. So I have a lot of gratitude to Reid Hoffman, who created LinkedIn, right? But what do you think is special about this platform, both I guess professionally and maybe outside of work for you?
I have met a lot of friends on here also, which is like so cool. I mean, there's just so much opportunity. I mean, you get what you give. A lot of people complain about the feed, but like everything is in your control. If you want your feed to be what you want to see, you just have to engage with those people's content. And if it's being really bad, just turn their notifications on. So then you get a notification of their, post. You can go interact with it. But in terms of like finding new friends, you can book meetings on it. Like I got a job from LinkedIn. Like there's so much stuff, and I'll probably ultimately build a business off of it. So it's really cool. and there's a lot of people doing that today. So it's a really cool platform. And I also like when I see people complaining about it. I'm like, hey, more opportunity for me. You can you can
You
not
can go somewhere
capitalize on
else.
it.
You can
Yeah.
you can go to a different place.
Yeah.
I feel like also like for some people, visiting Disney or a different theme park or a stadium is like really cool. For you, I feel like the dream would be to like go to like the LinkedIn headquarters or something to visit.
I actually don't know where they are. Do you know?
I'm assuming somewhere in Silicon Valley, probably. I mean, they got offices
Probably.
everywhere, but I'm sure that's probably where it started. We'll
I'll
have to
have
check.
to go. They've got to invite me out. LinkedIn, if
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
watching
there you
this,
go.
help a
Um,
brother out.
yeah, seriously. Um, in the role so far and just seeing, how far you've come in such a short span of time already, has there been a moment where you kind of sat there and you're kind of like, wow, like this is great. Like where you're like, this is really insane. Like where I was, before I started this role and what I've accomplished so far. Like, was there a specific moment you're like something was kind of clicking there?
Mm, not really. Like I wasn't the first couple months. I didn't have a great idea what I was doing, and I slowly started getting that. But I don't think there was ever a moment where I just sat there and I was like, oh wow, like this is awesome. I probably did, but I'm a pretty neutral guy, so even if I did, it probably wasn't like, oh, like some crazy aha moment. But I am very grateful for the opportunity I was given to work here, and just trying to capitalize that every day that I'm here.
And being neutral is important, right? I think something that I've found so far in my career, very young, very early, is that there's a lot of good days, right? And there's a lot of tougher days. And you have to kind of find a way to not let it affect, your personal relationships when you clock out for the day, when you're out at dinner, but maybe, there's something going on in your phone, you want to check it. It's hard to kind of turn that off. Is there a way for you that you kind of either click off it or is work and in general, is it always kind of on your mind, kind of running in the background a little bit?
Um, I'd like to say it's not, but it mostly is. It's mostly always on my mind. Not always, but like I went on vacation 2 weeks ago and I barely thought about it until we got acquired. Um, but
That could pop up.
yeah. It was on the Thursday though, so it was the latter half of the week. But no, I mostly am thinking about work and like how I can, book more meetings or do better. And when it's not work, it's just like I kind of switch off like after I clock out, like you mentioned, and then I'm like, okay, time to post on LinkedIn. So it's like going from one thing to another.
Sure, that's fair. A little bit more on the personal end here, if you feel comfortable talking about it. I like to, just ask people about kind of different moments in their life that were maybe a little more difficult and how they kind of got past. Is there so far kind of a specific challenging moment, whether at work, outside of work, and curious how you kind of kept moving forward from whatever that was?
I don't know if a certain moment comes to mind, but probably figuring out like what I want to do. I feel like there's especially a lot of pressure in today's day and age for it's like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to go to college. Like, there's so many people telling you different things. It's like, oh, move to San Francisco and just get a job there. It's like, oh, stay home and save money. It's, oh, no, move out of your house, but stay in your state and do this. Like, there's so many different people telling you so many different things. So that was pretty tricky for me, like trying to actually understand what I wanted and then why I wanted that. And what helped me do that was starting to work. And then, like, when I started to work, I started to figure out what I wanted instead of what other people were telling me. And then over time, I eventually found out that I liked sales, and I was very happy that I made that decision. And I still am. But that was kind of a tricky part where, there's a lot of different outside sources, especially when you're young, telling you what to do. But, and I don't know if this is saying to just start working and figure out what you want, but like start just doing things and like figure out what you want if you don't know yet.
Yeah, totally. I think that's really sound advice. I think both with myself and with different friends I've spoken to, whether they're, looking for a job, they're not sure what their next step is. Like, oftentimes I think sometimes they kind of pause for a little bit and, they chill out, which I think also is fair. Sometimes people need to kind of rest
Yeah.
and regain their composure. But I do think if it goes on too long, like you kind of end up just kind of sitting there, right? Whereas like second you just, you start writing, right? You start a newsletter, you start going out and meeting people. Like basically the more you do, the more things that will come out of that essentially.
Yes, exactly.
And just wanted to touch back on networking. I mean, we spoke about kind of a LinkedIn approach. We spoke about how to, kind of approach different conversations. Any other kind of fun tips or different ways to kind of set yourself apart when networking, I guess, either IRL or offline as well?
Just try to make people laugh. Try to go back to basics. It's easy to get caught up in like trying to book meetings, trying to be serious, trying to be relevant. But like some days I'm like, all right, I don't even care. I'm just gonna make people laugh. Like try to, like I don't know, whatever that means for you. Like send memes, um, anything that makes people laugh on cold calls. Like say funny stuff, crack jokes, and just like don't really worry about it too much. Just like everybody's human, everybody needs to laugh. So that's something that I do.
Love it. Love it. Are you ready to go into a quick rapid fire session?
Let's do this.
Favorite movie?
Rambo.
A book you love?
The Bible.
Someone you look up to in your life?
Probably. Did a lot of people? I'll just say my dad.
A place you want to travel to in the future?
Anywhere where there's a lot of grass, and I see photos of like Sweden. There's a lot of grass there.
Favorite person to follow on LinkedIn?
Oh, there's too many.
If you want to shout out a few, I'll let you if you want.
No, I'll keep it to one. I'll say Mike Hamowitz.
Favorite tool or software to use other than Common Room? So, Kade, want to be mindful of your time. Got one last question for you here before you jump off. What, so far in your career, what is like one of the most generous acts that someone has done for you so far? Kind of as you've gotten started here.
Probably this guy on LinkedIn, Dakota Leonard. When I first started at Common Room, I just had this laptop and I made a post about like my setup, just like showing people my setup. And then he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I have an extra monitor that I don't use." And he sent it to me. And I was like, super cool. And it's just like nice monitor. I still use it today. Like this, it's right over there. So like that was really cool. There's a lot of moments, but that was one good one.
Where did he send it from?
He's in North Carolina.
Okay, so not too far away.
Yeah, it's not too far. Shipping wasn't terrible.
That's a good story. Cool. Kade, really appreciate your time. The goal with this podcast, not in the resume, is always to kind of, as it says in the title, find out what's not in the resume about our different guests, and to also kind of give some ideas, some inspiration, some thought to people in their careers, both, on the early stage side and also maybe in the middle, whatever it is. So I really hope people enjoyed the conversation today with Kade. Kade, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.